Come on, get after it!
More of those goddamn things.
And they do explode rather easily, so they're... And considering how we saw them come out of the chrysalis, like, we can only assume that they are so recently formed that they're still a little soft and squishy and still in, like, almost a larval state. Maybe a little bit further along in the chrysalis, but they're not... I don't know, they don't feel mature. And they do give them the name of juvies through this game, so that does lead you to believe that they could become much, much stronger, much, much bigger.
Are we clear?
Now, we do know that they are connected to the Locust, because the game has been out so long, and the new one's coming out. But I also feel like they do a good job at leading to a little bit of mystery. Like, you're always pretty sure it's going to be the Locust. The Gears are going to fight the Locust. They're not going to really introduce a new alien unless it's something extraterrestrial. But we also never really solved what the Locusts were in any of the earlier games.
Now we're clear.
So it feels good to get you a game with a little bit of mystery here, like it's shedding light on both sides of this coin.
Shit! Damn it!
Oh shit. Okay, that was highly embarrassing.
Right, I'm on my way. And you're back.
That was very embarrassing, Winners.
I think we're gonna have to redefine our definition of clear.
Give me a hand with this.
Now, one of the things I like that, you know, you can see here that the protagonist, James, that we're playing as, he plays a lot like his...
Then we find my dad, Raina,
like his father. He's
everyone else
very...
is snatched.
He's very objective based. He's like, okay, this is what we need to do to push
Let's make
on.
a big mistake.
You know, like, we need to push on. This is the objective here. Let's clear it out, and this is what we're going to go do.
Hey, there's a snot bubble up there.
Ew, what's that inside it?
And what I like here is, now we're also starting to see, this is a weapon from the earlier game. This is the mulcher. We had the tri-shot earlier, which is what the robots were using, but the mulcher is the weapon that the Locust constantly had. So it kind of brings up this a little bit more of a connection to, no, the Locusts are back. You are fighting Locusts. You're not exactly sure what they are, however, you are indeed fighting them because now we're seeing their weapons. So at least there's a connection for the early part of the playthrough. And like I said, we're not 100% sure. Like, the fact that they were putting people in Chrysalis and changing them, very reminiscent of what was going on in Resistance, if you guys remember. Now, what I like here is they do kind of like Fatal Funnel these guys in here, and the Mulcher just shoots through them. And then, of course, you can always rely on the chainsaw for these close encounters. Because these guys, like I said, they don't have much health to them, and they do feel a lot gooier, not necessarily as strong. So I could go through a ton of them, nice and easy, with the Mulcher. Like, it just literally turned them into mulch. So now the cool part is that they're so much closer. They're not wearing armor from what we can see here. They look to be very naked. We can easily just blow them away. I could not have timed that more perfectly if I tried. Now, the strategy I'm using there is actually a strategy that's used online where you do the dodge roll and then you just pop up and blow somebody away. And I can't always figure out like what causes him to like kick some open and what causes him to push slowly, because there are points where I'm like, you guys have been tactical and pushing slowly almost this entire time, and now it's like,
So,
also just kick the door open.
where
Boom.
was this? The Cogs?
Well, the COG used it as a field hospital. Actual fort is from way before the COG. Seriously, like Kings and Wizards days.
Kings and...
Wizards.
Hey, listen, I'm trying to give you some enriching historical context here.
So I like now that we're saying, hey, this is well before our time. I do like the idea of kings and wizards because it's like, yeah, you know, knights, armors, dragons, like that era. Like, we're talking about like the 16, 1700s there. Now, probably the 14, 1500s there. But no, let's do kings and wizards because let's be honest. That's when you think about back then. You think about like Arthur and his court. You go right to Merlin. You're like, oh, knights in shining armor. All right, I get about what time period that really should be. So while that is incredibly cheesy, I think it is a very like human approach for that.
Let's see what this does.
What the hell?
God.
JD.
I like his little eyebrow piercing. Like, it's cool, however, it's also one of those things where I'm looking at it, I'm like, that is not military at all. There should never be a point where you have, like, a face piercing like that.
What the hell just happened?
We get upgraded!
Can't we downgrade it?
So here we get to see something that looks a little bit more familiar, like the Locust. And I actually really enjoyed this reintroduction to the,
Not smarter than us. What do you say?
Not than us, than before!
Oh.
we get to see this, like, kind of reimagining of how the monsters originally came out and how they're attacking us now. So I think it's a fun way to be like, okay, here's something that you knew. You guys knew about the sinkholes, which is how the Locust always came to you in the past. But this is going to be a very new way to look at them and a very classic, like a classic feeling, but it's still very new. Because that was not a sinkhole. Like, he crawled into that. We've never seen that happen before.
No, I don't think so. It's like some kind of nest. Oh, shit! Come on, through that door.
I wish Cat wasn't in the way, because that is one of my favorites, where you just start, like, cutting up behind him and just go right through the meaty part of the ass, all the way through, like, out the front of their kidneys.
Drop the pod for cover!
Now, here's the thing that we actually see this type of sequence a lot in sci-fi games. If you guys have ever seen the Starship Troopers movie, it's more of a phalanx formation is how I'm going to describe it, where you move up in unison, and then when they start coming down at you, you just kind of like focus fire. And granted, they can all shoot at you, but the idea is like you'd be putting so many shots down range that it would be very, very hard for them to adjust and really regroup it all. Now they did say go ahead and shoot those pods, so that is a fantastic the feeling there. The fact that they're like, oh no, here are the pods, stop him from getting up. And already we're now back to like similar Gears of War 1 style gameplay. So now the what we saw earlier where I could like pull an enemy over and stagger them, that actually works both ways. they do a good job of being like, no, if you can do it to them, they're going to be able to do it to you. And I have had a few sequences where they quite easily just pulled me over and laid waste to me and just had to cause me to restart a few different sequences. And they're also using the hammer burst, which we haven't really seen yet in this game, and that is the original Locust weaponry. So I'm going to push up on this side, and when he comes around that corner like that, just as you can see, very easily plink him and plug him one or two good ones. It's good to see that they don't all fire ghost bullets, and some of their bullets actually do hit.
Talk about what happened back there with the nest? I mean, what the hell was that?
It looked like they were transforming.
Wait, you mean like evolving? Shouldn't that take a lot of time?
Well, some insect juveniles can become drones in days. Hours even.
So, juvies and drones. Juvies and drones of what, though?